You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, my name's Philip Heitzen, and today is Friday, January 10th, 2025.
6.
This week, we're excited to formally announce our brand new executive-level, invite-only event called Catalyst LA, the iconic New House Hollywood, the world's first purpose-built broadcast studio. Now, this will be a completely different kind of event. It's one that's going to leverage our facilitation and content creation expertise to foster a day of collaboration, connection, and actionable insights. It'll be a very action-oriented day where, as an attendee, you'll build your plan for the next stage of your procurement journey. The event is open to CPOs, heads of procurement, Center of Excellence leads, and digital and transformation leads, and will take place on May the 6th. If you are currently in one of those roles and would like to request an invitation, email me directly. You can do that at philip@artofprocurement.com or complete the form at artofprocurement.com/catalyst. But don't delay. We're really excited that having launched this week, already 20% of the tickets have been snapped up by procurement executives from industries like retail, technology, hospitality, and entertainment.
5.
In this week's episode of the Art of Procurement podcast, I took my annual look ahead at the most important trends and forces that I believe are going to impact procurement in the year ahead. In this short clip from the episode, I share my thoughts on the kind of perspectives, approaches, and even mindsets that procurement leaders need that will help them navigate some of the more serious challenges they're likely to have to face this year. So let's bring together these trends that we have to navigate. One is doing more with less is here to stay, and to do so requires thinking that goes beyond finding efficiencies in our current operating models. 2, AI is here to stay as well, and so far we're only scratching the surface. 3, every activity that procurement performs where the outputs are driven by process is ripe for semi-automation or full automation. 4, the buying process is moving back from being procurement-led to stakeholder-led for all purchases where your business or procurement believes that procurement adds little value beyond governance. And 5th, we're in a geopolitical environment that's likely going to create tailwinds for procurement's impact and involvement. There are, of course, many other trends we follow here at Art of Procurement, but these 5 really are top of mind, for me at least, as we enter 2025. So, what does all this mean? Well, over the course of a year, we get to speak to a lot of different procurement leaders. I know I'm most impressed by those that admit to vulnerabilities. They don't necessarily know what all this means. Or should I say this another way? They're very curious and they're doing a lot of experimenting. They are taking some risks. They are staying very agile. They are on a journey of discovery. For others, the gap between the art of the possible that new technologies bring and the current state of the daily grind, blocking and tackling is so wide that talks of strategic but largely automated procurement capability appear distant and fanciful. So, if we can agree that, 1, the act of buying and managing suppliers and supply chains is getting more complex. 2, budgets for humans in procurement are staying the same or decreasing rather than increasing, as seen by doing more with less. That 3, anything process related is a prime candidate for automation, and agentic AI is going to go even further. And 4, newer technology segments like autonomous sourcing and negotiation and procurement orchestration allow companies to have greater control over how and what they buy. This absolutely means to go all the way to that first trend that new operating models are needed. I'm convinced that this direction of travel is set. The only question is how long it will take to arrive. To listen to the full annual message, you can go to artofprocurement.com/podcast or search for Art of Procurement and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or you can click the link in today's show notes. You can also read my full version of the letter that I wrote that supports the podcast, and that's also in the show notes for that episode.
4.
One of the things I've always loved about procurement is how transferable your experiences and skills can be, even across very different categories or industries. I think that anyone who's been in procurement long enough can see the value of working in multiple environments and how, with every step forward that you take in your career, you're able to carry that experience and apply it to new and sometimes even unexpected ways. Now, Adele Bleakley is a great example of this. In a recent episode of I Value as Love Procurement podcast, host Kelly Barner spoke with Adele, who is a procurement manager for Sainsbury's was also recently recognized as a highly commended Young Talent winner at the 2024 SIPS Excellence in Procurement and Supply Awards. Adele shares how she successfully adapted her skills and expertise as she's transitioned across roles and industries, including automotive and retail, and how in the process she's managed to build highly collaborative partnerships with her stakeholders that keep everyone focused on creating value, not just savings. To listen to the full episode, click on the link in today's show notes.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
US Steel has been under pressure for a while, so it's not a surprise that they were seeking acquisition, controversial though that might be. Just a few days after the new year, however, the Biden administration declared it would block the $14.9 billion sale of US Steel to the Japanese company Nippon Steel, citing concerns over national security. This move has triggered a complex legal battle and strong responses from both companies, which have teamed up to countersue, alleging that the block on the sale violated their constitutional rights and was purely political in nature, violating due process. They're also retaliating against the United Steelworkers trade union and rival steel firm and pharmaceutical Cleveland-Cliffs, alleging that they unlawfully contributed to the president's decision to block the acquisition. The rhetoric in the legal filings and in the media has been highly charged, so how this unfolds will no doubt be a top story in global manufacturing this year. There's also the question of whether President Trump will uphold or reverse the block on the sale once he takes office later this month. The ultimate fate of US Steel remains a question. For decades, they've struggled to compete with the availability of cheaper foreign steel, which mostly comes from China. And earlier this year, the company claimed that without an acquisition, it would be forced to close some of its mills. US Steel has become a political and economic lightning rod, so we'll all be watching out this year to see how the courts will sort this one out. You can read the article linked in today's show notes for more.
2.
Why does procurement exist? When the CEO or CFO is deciding how to allocate budgets, why should they invest in procurement over another strategic initiative? How can we make this a no-brainer question? These are all questions that I posed in a recent LinkedIn post. And for me, it all comes down to our ability as procurement to drive differentiated decision-making. If we can show up with unique insights, trusted data, field research, and a deep understanding of stakeholder goals, we have the power to transform how decisions are made. Connecting the impact of these decisions that were influenced by procurement versus those that were not is the ultimate measure of procurement ROI. So as you plan for 2025, ask yourself, how am I helping the business make decisions that are different and better informed than the competition? If we succeed here, we not only secure our relevance, but we also ensure procurement remains indispensable to driving real competitive advantage.
1.
With the new year comes a lot of reflection about what we can or should be doing differently or better this year to elevate procurement's impact within the business and improve value creation. And one of the areas that's ripe for improvement is services spend. As spend management processes evolve and technologies like AI play an increasingly bigger role, procurement has to make sure that their approach to services spend is keeping pace with this evolution. We've recently updated our research into services spend management, and we're seeing some interesting shifts and, admittedly, some concerns as well in how procurement teams are approaching services spend as we look at our 2025 results versus the survey that we did last year. To learn more about the research findings and also to get some practical recommendations about how to improve your services spend management in 2025, we invite you to join us for a webinar on January 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also be joined by Gordon Donovan, good friend of the podcast and Vice President of Research, Procurement and External Workforce at SAP, as he'll share his key takeaways and perspectives on where the biggest opportunities lie for services spend. Click on the link in today's show notes to register for the event, and we look forward to hearing your experiences with services spend.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.